Hey folks, talking about the new moon in Aquarius that's happening in a couple days. As I record this is a little last minute. We have the new moon in Aquarius that's going to be happening on February 22nd. I believe that's the exact date. Let me pull this up. And of course, the new moon in Aquarius is going to be a time it's resetting the cycle. It'll be on the 22nd, as I said, toward this Aquarius nature. And Aquarius is the sign of, it's ruled by Saturn, and it's the sign of culture and making a commitment to greater culture and higher collective identity, collective truth. So rather than things just being about your individual power, your individual glory and individual power, it's about sharing that individuality, which would be, let's say, related to the sign of Leo, taking that power of your individuality and universalizing it, sharing it with the masses, so to speak. So again, Leo is like the kingdom. Leo is like the king, and Aquarius is like the kingdom, all the subjects and all the people. And so this is an important cycle that's starting, and you can see the chart here. You see we have Lord Shiva there holding it up too. I mean, you see that, see Shiva's face there a little bit better. And on this day, on February 22nd, which is, Saturday into Sunday, if you're in the western part of the world, in the eastern part, it's probably going to be more into Sunday. Let me just go forth hours. So, it's like the new moon day. This is always the way you look. See, this is actually into the 23rd. Yeah, it's actually the 23rd. It's tricky because the day is actually the day before. That's the new moon. The new moon day is actually the 15th Tithi or Amavasya. And then the actual new moon happens at the beginning of the first Tithi. So the actual sun-moon conjunction happens, though, on the 23rd. So it would be like 6 a.m. on the west coast of the U.S. But by that time, it's already starting the Aquarius cycle, just so you know. So Saturday into Sunday, we'll be feeling that transitional energy into Aquarius, okay? And so again, this is very powerful, and you can see in the chart, we have this shift here. Now, I want to just also make sure people know that you can understand and get the full moon, the new moon cycle for your sign. If you want to know how this is going to affect your sign, you can go to the link I just posted. It's called Astrology Training Lab, and register and get the forecast for your sign. Because again, what happens, you may have heard me say this over and over, but it's true. If you haven't learned this yet, your life revolves around these cycles, these new moon and full moon cycles. So this Aquarius new moon, if you're a Pisces, it happens in your 12th house. If you're Aries, it happens in your 11th house. So that's going to be the real focal point of the next 30 days. And if you want to know what this means to you, you can go to Astrology Training Lab. You see, you type that in, Astrology Training Lab, and it takes you here. And I do a forecast for each of the 12 signs based on that ascendant and based on where Aquarius falls. So for only 50 cents, you get 14 days, not just that forecast for your sign, but a daily forecast based on the full Panchanga. 14 days of forecasts for 50 cents. You also get 8 hours of classes that can really shift your life and understanding. You get a great chart reading template. You also get Foundations of Astrology course that I taught, 4 hours of that. And you get a great course I taught called Quantum Vedic Astrology, which talks about things like quantum physics, neuroscience, and the brain. So again, you can check that out if you're also interested. And only 50 cents for 2 weeks. So we get back to this, and this new moon, again, it starts, you can see around like 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 23rd. And wherever that sign of Aquarius falls for you, that's going to be active. And it also shows an area of life where you really want to share and give and universalize your energy. That's where Aquarius is in your life. For example, if you're a Libra person, then Aquarius is 5th house, which shows how sharing on a cultural level is a very creative thing for you as a Libra person. Also, as a Libra, you would want your children to be, you really look at your children as being citizens of the world and wanting your children to make a contribution in the world and have them be out there in the world. Things like that. So aside from that house connection based on each ascendant, again, that's very important because it's going to see how you will fare in this next month. But it's also, again, in a universal sense, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and it's the external nature of Saturn, where you get to focus and concentrate and commit to making the world a better place, changing the world for the better, and not just focusing on your own fears and stresses and insecurities and worries. And so Aquarius is that sign. It's the sign where you realize that you're here, that you're not going to live forever, that everything comes to an end, that you're not going to escape. And facing that, you make peace with your fears, you make peace with life, and you elevate. And instead of everything being about your small, narrow world, your whole identity becomes universalized. You see yourself as a universal being, as something beyond just this individuality, this personality. So that's a big theme of the next 30 days that we'll all be experiencing, right? That collective identity, that collective consciousness, that collective self that wants to be aligned with a higher purpose, with a higher cause, with making the world a better place. And this is a desire that we all have, to want to leave the world better than we found it. We all want our life to have some kind of meaning and to be a participant in the world in a way that benefits. So these will be very important themes for the next 30 days. And Suhani says, I wonder how that plays along with Mars-Ketu conjunction. Well, they're just different things. It plays along with it as it would play along. So again, one of the ways to do astrology is you interpret everything. Everything is separate. Everything is separate. It actually has nothing to do with it. It's all happening in the same sphere, however, right? It's like saying if you like eat one food and then you eat another food, I wonder how this food plays along with this one. Well, they don't, except if you're eating them, then they're both going in your stomach. But it's happening within that same concept, or within that same construct. Then not just Mars-Ketu, but Jupiter is also there. Saturn is in Capricorn. So I'll talk about the whole chart in a second. But you want to think, and it's good to identify this. But often what happens when people are trying to learn or trying to figure things out is they try to synthesize everything. They try to make everything like, oh, how is that related to that? It's not related. Things aren't related. Things aren't synthesized. They're different. It's more important to be able to identify distinction, because actually even things that look like they're synthesized aren't. They're different things. There are a bunch of different things. And that's what astrology is. It's a million little details that create like one experience. But if we're going to understand the one experience, if we're going to understand it, whatever it is, we're going to understand it correctly based on every little detail, not based on how one thing is that's different from another is in there. So ponder that idea. And so Virgo Sin Lu says, but Sam, $39.95 per month. After that, 50 cents for 2 weeks. What do you get for $40 a month? That seems expensive. Well, what you get is daily forecasts every day. So it's about $1 a day in that regard. If you want it, if you don't, then don't. That's all. I have people that are members for 10 years. And you also get full and new moon forecasts for your sign. You also get the 8 hours of classes. So that's what you get. Also, you get a private community to discuss things. You like it or you don't like it. It's not a sales pitch. This is why I give people 50 cents for a 14-day trial. Try it. If you like it, keep going. If you don't, cancel, and you'll never get charged again. And you will have been charged a total of 50 cents. And for those 50 cents, you would have gotten 2 daily forecasts, comprehensive daily forecasts, and forecasts on the full and the new moon, and 8 hours of professional training, and the Facebook group to interact. So that's what you get. So try it, whatever. It's up to you. So Himanshu says, I don't have Facebook, Sam. Wow. Then I guess you can't do it. You shouldn't do it. How's that? Oh, by the way, it's also not PayPal. That's the other thing. So there you go. Anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked on this, but and Himanshu's been saying it for 2 years now, and he's frowning over it. I hear you, man. Okay. Sorry. There's a solution. Facebook is free. So there's that. If someone really does want to do it, Facebook is free. So you could do it. Anyway, this is not about the thing, but anyway, let's get back to the forecast here. But I'm glad people ask, because I'm going to tell you this now, as people ask me all the time, is there a website where I can learn? How can I connect? What's the best way to just kind of learn all this? And I'd say I put it together. That's what this is for. I invite you to go deeper. It's only 50 cents, again, and you'll be training yourself to watch the sky every day, which is the best way to learn. And again, I can't do much better. Also, to give you 8 hours of all of those courses. I mean, they were taught at conferences. I've been teaching Vedic astrology professionally since 2004. Okay, the one group of 3 videos was taught at a certification conference. Another one is straight from my certification course that I give my advanced students. Listen, you could take those free classes, those classes for 50 cents, and if you apply, you could do professional astrology readings if you take what I give you. So again, we're very spoiled in this day and age. And maybe this also plays into the Aquarius thing, which I'll just speak this now, but we're very spoiled in this day and age. Even 10 years ago, to be able to give like 10 hours of free video or 10 hours of recorded video, just give it away for free. People have been like, God, that's amazing. People would have easily paid 10, 15 bucks for something like that just because it's so hard to get. Now we are so spoiled with so much free stuff. Everything is free that it's been cheapened. It's been devalued. Because it used to be that the only people who could afford to do those kinds of things are people that had money and that had a budget. So one of the best things about it was that everything you could get that you paid for, or everything that was professional years ago, you had to pay for it. And it was kind of like a gateway, because the only people that were able to do professional work were the ones that were successful enough to be able to pay for it. Now, because everything is free, everything is also cheapened and devalued. This is very much a kind of Aquarius issue, by the way, because Aquarius is also, again, it's about our sort of collective identity, our sort of collective value, our sort of collective values, and what we do when we come together in a community, how valued and valuable we are as an individual, within our group, the kind of values that we want to put forth in the world. I have people tell me, even like what was just said here, and by the way, I'm not making a big deal about it. I don't care if people do it or not. But even people who are like, God, that seems expensive, $40 a month for like. God, it's not like I care, but think about it. People are so like people will spend $40 on nothing, like it's nothing, like the drop of a hat. Go out and spend $40 on junk food, garbage, crap, like it's nothing. Never think twice about it. I bet you everybody watching this will blow $40 next month 15 times on stuff they could never even remember what it was. But something like now, because we're so used to everything being free, everything being whatever, it's like, oh my God, that sounds like a lot. Again, I'm not being critical of the person who said it. Please believe me. What I'm doing is pointing out how we perceive things these days. And Aquarius is an air sign. It's very much about things like technology. It's about how we come together as a community and what we value. And again, this has nothing to do with getting my thing or not. But it's a good example of again, the sort of collective identity that we all have now, that we all share, and it's very much about values and valuing things. Particularly now, I'll get back to the chart here, but particularly now we have the real important things in the chart right now. There are several planets that are in their own sign. Hey, L. Hicks, shaming people is not a good business strategy, dude. I'm not shaming people, okay? So that's not shaming people, and you're the one who can get a grip, frankly. Not into that stuff. So yeah, I think I was very honest, and there's nothing shaming about about speaking that way, about speaking honestly. Anyway, so we can see with the planets here that in particular we have 3 planets in their own signs. They're very powerful. It says, or we have Jupiter in Sagittarius in its own sign. And it's definitely really aligning with higher teachings, higher wisdom, higher purpose, and where we are looking to be inspired, looking for, again, higher meaning and higher purpose. So ever since Jupiter went into Sagittarius, like a month, I'm sorry, it was the end of last year, around November, we've really felt a shift in trying to find higher inspiration, trying to find higher purpose, trying to find higher meaning, and looking for really good teachings. And so that has been continuing. Again, Mars moved into Sagittarius as well, which has us really fighting for our principles, fighting for what we believe in, fighting for what inspires us, and being willing to do that. Kind of like even what I was just doing, instead of not talk about something that might make a few people uncomfortable just because it might seem rude. I don't think there's anything rude about it. Talking about value and our sort of collective identity and what we value. I think it's very important to say, and not just from my point of view, but really to think about what's valuable in this world. And again, this is not even related to me, although I hear it myself too, but I'll see where people really try to shame like astrologers or people that do this kind of work for charging money, for charging anything, for barely making a living. I mean, people will, again, spend their money, waste their money on all kinds of things that aren't even good, let alone. But again, as soon as, like, people who are let's say, trying to make the world a better place or trying to do something higher, or even not even just astrologers or whatever, but even like artists or musicians or whatever, charging for anything is often looked down upon. So, it's one of those things to just think about and, support people who are trying to make a difference. If you can, if it's valuable to you. Again, that's also the thing. You don't just throw money at things, which people won't do anyway, but examining our values and our sort of collective identity that we're trying to build. And that includes especially things like the arts, other kinds of causes, like we have things like a climate crisis and, things that need our service, our attention, our money, our resources. This is one of the biggest things you often see when disasters strike. The main thing they need is money. They need the money because they know how to allocate the resources. So it's good when people like send blankets and do that, but what they mainly need is money. And so we give our money to these things, again, even if we can't give our time and our resource and our energy. Our money is certainly valuable to the causes that are important to us. So, ask yourself, what are causes that are important to you? Causes that are important to me have to do with things like, of course, the environment and whatnot. But one of the main causes that I really stick up for and champion is animal rights. That's a big thing to me because they're voiceless. And again, it's one of the worst things, maybe the worst things human beings have ever done is how we treat animals, especially animals that we eat. Systematic slaughter, factory farming. Not only does it cruel, but it destroys the ecosystems, the planet, everything. It's the worst thing human beings do, I think. There's not even a close second. Not only is it bad, but it's agreed upon. There's tacit compliance with it. Most people still think you're a crazy lunatic for even talking about it. Maybe not in these circles, but in most conventional circles. If someone went on a debate stage, like one of the presidential debates or somewhere, and said, I think we should start getting off of factory farmed meat and animals and agriculture and big agribusiness. We need to, look at the way they talk about global warming and oil and those things. People have no problem saying we need to get off of fossil fuels. We need to get off of this. People have no problem saying that and hearing that. What if they said we need to get off of meat and consuming animals and killing animals? What if people, like on a debate stage, they would be like the weirdest out crazy person. It would be a game breaker. So that's a big cause. So that's one of my causes. What's one of your causes, right? And this is what the Aquarius time is about. How we come together collectively, what we value collectively, right? What we're supporting collectively. So we also see, we have this Jupiter K2 Mars in Sagittarius, so we're fighting for our beliefs. Saturn is in Capricorn, where it's really concentrated and focused. So we're determined to stay in there and, sort of win the battle. Saturn in Capricorn is really determined to not give up. Of course, we have these planets in Aquarius, so we talked about that. But then Venus is also in its exalted sign in Pisces. So this is very much about things like, again, higher wisdom, beauty, sort of collective awareness and consciousness of finding happiness and beauty and joy in all things. Elevating our relationships, elevating our, relationship with each other. And again, not just romantic relationships, but all relationships with other people, right? Beyond just the personal what I get out of it kind of thing. So these so this Venus in Pisces is also really important to the overall feeling right now. So this is the sort of environment that's happening within this Aquarius cycle. So within the Aquarius cycle, we're feeling that sort of backdrop. And again, if you did want to see how this affects you at the Astrology Training Lab, you can, again, it's only 50 cents for 2 weeks, and then about $1 a day if you want to keep going. $39.95 for 30 days if you want to keep going. But again, daily forecasts, and then all of these amazing classes as well. When you register, you basically get all these classes for 50 cents, and then you get all of the daily forecast as well. And the forecasts are actually based on the Panchanga. The Panchanga is this over here. So you can see right now I'm talking about the moon in Aquarius, but the moon is also in the nakshatra of Shatabishak. It's in that nakshatra. It's in a different lunar phase every day. There's also the conjunctions, like it'll be in a conjunction with Mercury, then it's in a conjunction with Venus, then Saturn is aspecting it, then Jupiter aspects it. So in the daily forecasts that you get at the Astrology Training Lab, I talk about all of these factors every day. So I talk about all of those factors every day. And also I have another person who writes forecasts for me as well. We share duties, and he actually also, as you can see, these are the forecasts. This was today, or this was yesterday. See, there's another very long forecast that you get. So it's 2 of these forecasts every day. That's just the daily forecast that you get every day. And then you also get all of these classes. Again, so check that out if it's valuable to you. Again, I can't do much more than offer something for 50 cents. But again, it's based on these classical Indian timekeeping called the Panchanga, the 5 limbs of time. And this is the best way to learn astrology, is to stay up with the current cycles, because these cycles are happening whether you know it or not. And most of us don't know it. Tulsi Gabbard was my favorite. I love Tulsi Gabbard. She blew it, but I really liked Tulsi Gabbard, and maybe the next election, 2024, Tulsi will get her act together a little bit more. But I don't want to get too political, but Tulsi Gabbard is definitely my favorite. That she was, but it's a difficult situation. And when her moment came where I think she could have explained things and been more of a uniter, which I thought she was ready for that moment, she didn't handle it very well. So I don't want to get too into that. But I definitely think that she has a great future. Hopefully, she didn't mess it up. That's my hope anyway. But so if we come back to this and then finish up, but this is in the nakshatra of Shatabishak. Now, Shatabishak is related to the 100 doctors. It's 100 physicians, and it shows where we need to find alternative healing methods, ways of healing ourselves, because often we have a hard time finding that true healing, that metaphysical healing that only comes from that. That's the kind of healing that we need to heal a spiritual crisis. We need a spiritual solution, a metaphysical solution, not just a physical one. And so Shatabishak Nakshatra is that place of metaphysical healing. And it's that part of Aquarius that's really connected to what is beyond. It's really related to the the sky and the upper atmosphere that starts to extend beyond the earth. Again, you think of this sort of collective identity, this sort of collective consciousness beyond all of us individuals here on earth. And Shatabishak shows that spiritual metaphysical healing that we all need and that we need to tap into in order to connect to our highest self. And so that's going to be a very rich and ripe lesson as well, is this metaphysical healing, this higher collective healing and consciousness, and how you can often, through a spiritual crisis or a physical crisis or a healing crisis, you find your own alternative solutions. And then you want to share it. Again, the other part of Aquarius is then that sharing with the collective. So again, this is why Aquarius, this is a big part of that healing, that natural healing quality of Aquarius, and that desire to want to heal and share with the group and with the collective comes from Shatabishak Nakshatra. And so that's the part of Aquarius that's also being awakened during this new moon. So again, we can see the new moon happens on the 23rd of February. That's on Sunday, right? And it's and you see sun and moon come together. And so as we wind down toward that, tomorrow night is Mahashivaratri. This is one of the reasons why I also thought it was Saturday, because Mahashivaratri is being celebrated on Friday. You see, these tithis, these lunar days, they don't cooperate so much. Again, and that's one of the tithis. You see, this says Krishna Amavasya. If I go back a day, it still says Krishna Amavasya, right? So this 24 hours earlier, it's still the same tithi. And then it says Chaturdashi. So it's not always exactly perfect. These angles in the sky don't necessarily comport always to our 24-hour days. Plus, we have all these time zones in the world. So it's pretty tricky. But we're celebrating Mahashivaratri on Friday night. And then Saturday and early Sunday, we have that new moon. And you'll feel that beginning of the cycle on, the middle of Saturday into Sunday. You'll start to feel that it feels like a sort of a depletion where your energy gets kind of low and sort of erased a little bit. So it's good to start over and regenerate. So, all right. So there's people talking about Tulsi Gabbard and the stuff from Trump and all. I don't want to get into that. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. And again, I'll put that link again if you're interested in seeing how this will play out for you. Definitely, think about splurging and sharing a big 50 cents and figuring out like what this cycle means for you, and tracking the daily astrology for a couple weeks. You might be shocked at what you learn. Again, it's 50 cents. You wind up getting these about 10 hours worth of classes. You wind up getting daily forecasts like you see here every day, a couple forecasts. You wind up getting the new moon and full moon for your sign. This was the last one. We just had the full moon in Cancer for all 12 signs. This was done. See, this was done February 7th. And so again, this is what people get every day, 2 forecasts. Then you get full and new moon forecasts. You get like 10 hours of classes. Again, 50 cents. If you don't want to get charged the whopping $40 a month, which I get. If you don't want it, you don't want it. But you can try it out. And either way, you always get to keep the 8 hours of classes and stuff like that too. So you'll always have access to that. So anyway, that's what I got for you. And I hope you're well. And you all take care.